Why has Dolce Gabbana chosen this plot in Marbella with this developer to develop one of the most singular, amazing residential developments in Europe and possibly the world? Today, we're going to dive deep. Stick around. Hey guys, welcome back to the High Homes YouTube channel. Today, we're back with another expert talk. I'm joined by Carlos Rodriguez, CEO of the developer Sierra Blanca Estates, is going to be developing Dolce Gabbana. Carlos, before we dive deep, I've got loads of questions about the project, about Dolce Gabbana, why they've chosen this location, so many things. But before we dive into the questions, can you give us a brief introduction to who's sitting here and some background on your company?
Well, yeah, as you said, I'm Carlos Rodriguez, CEO of Sierra Blanca. But Sierra Blanca comes a long way back in Marbella. Our family has been here. We're a family business, which has been established in Marbella for over 40 years.
Wow.
Maybe we're well known for having started this Marbella Sierra Blanca urbanization. And 40 years later, here we are, I think still doing developments which are unique. And, we strive to give, work on the best locations, delivering the highest quality, different, special, unique designs, and the best service for our clients. So that's a little bit of Sierra Blanca in a nutshell.
Let's start with Carlos, the most important part. Tell us about the location. Where is the project exactly? Tell us about it.
So location is clearly in real estate one of the most important things, or the most important things. It's about location, location, location. Here we are really in the heart of the Golden Mile. I mean, we're walking distance from Puente Romano, Marbella Club, walking distance to the sea. So I would say the location is the best that you could actually find right now in Marbella. If I go into the actual plot, I mean, the topography of the plot allows for the whole project to have panoramic sea views. I think anybody that arrives to the Costa del Sol, arrives to Marbella, their first question and their dream is, okay, I want to live by the sea and I want to be able to have panoramic sea views. Well, in this location right here, you're walking distance to everywhere you kind of would want to hang out and go and spend your day. But at the same time, you have panoramic sea views from absolutely every single apartment or from every single communal area. So it's kind of a little bit of, that dream come true for every person that gets off their plane and arrives here in Marbella.
So how does this work? Dolce Gabbana, wants to develop a signature development in a place like the Golden Mile, Marbella. You guys have this perfect plot. How do you guys go around the design? Like, talk to us about, let's say, the design of the complex, blocks, the residences themselves.
Yeah, going into this, a lot of people have different opinions on how involved the brand is, and we've worked with other brands in the past, and I can say when we really strive to be able to reach, it wasn't easy. Really we went through a long process of several years speaking with the brand, and it kind of felt like, okay, they're a family business too, we're a family business. We were on the same page of really trying to do something special, something that hasn't been done before. Really giving a different level of services, different, some level of quality that hasn't been done. So we were really in line to be able to do a development which would stand out not only in Marbella, Costa del Sol, Europe, and the world, as you mentioned before in your introduction. And their involvement as a family business is absolutely in every step.
So how does this work? You guys had the plot, and how did that sort of
I think
work?
the initial vision does start from, we have to give the local know-how, right?
Yeah.
We know who our client is. We know, although the project can attract somebody from anywhere in the world, but we know what people in Marbella are looking for. And that's why we really worked, on the master plan. This is a huge master plan, almost 100,000 square meters with massive communal areas, more than 40,000 square meters of gardens. We have an art center, we have a retail drive, and then, more than 5 communal pools, which all with panoramic sea views to the Gulf Valley, to the, sea and mountain. So we really worked on defining a master plan that we thought was special. We were, working hand in hand throughout the whole architectural process. I mean, everything. We're talking about the structure, layouts, the facades. I mean, we had consultants from I would say we had consultants from France, from Italy, from all this, and these were all hand-chosen people from the brand and from us to be able to do something really special.
Okay, so Carlos, tell me about sort of the residences. How many properties are there in Dolce Gabbana in Design Hills?
So there's 94 residences, from the smaller units, which could be the 2-bedroom units, but all the way up to a 7-bedroom unit, which is over 1,500 square meters.
Wow. I mean, massive residences.
But there's a big mix, I would say. So 2, 3, 4, 5-bedroom units, and then we have that grand penthouse which goes up to 7 bedrooms.
With regards to sort of the different kind of properties in Design Hills, tell us about finishing designs. What makes them different to the rest of the market? Let's say from the internal perspective. If you walk into a Design Hills Dolce Gabbana property, what differentiates that property from a luxury apartment anywhere else?
Well, first of all, I mean, we spoke about location. Location is absolutely unique. That's unbeatable. And with that location comes obviously the views, and that's something that everybody's looking for. But then a lot of people, this is it's a fashion branded development, but the level of services is higher than I've seen in many hotel branded developments.
Wow.
So we're really striving to give that hotel service, which I can guarantee. And you see that in the amenities. I mean, we have from indoor paddle court to indoor basketball, football, indoor running track.
You have an indoor running track? I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Wow.
indoor running track, exactly, absolutely. Private training areas, apart from more than 1,000 square meter gym, fully equipped by Techno Gym, and fully designed, of course, by Dolce Gabbana, and bringing tying that DNA into the sporting facilities, or 1,000 square meter wellness area. Everybody's looking now, right? Wellness is huge. So I think under the branding of Dolce Gabbana, we're still striving to give those services that everybody's looking for, whether it's in sports, whether it's in wellness, and that's what this project is really offering. Is
lifestyle.
Is really a full, it's a 360 lifestyle that you're kind of looking for in the Costa del Sol. So it flows really well into, I would say, what everybody's kind of looking for. So I would say in amenities we obviously location, design. As I said, you can be in love with the brand or not. You can be more neutral if you like, and be with more lighter tones. A lot of people think, no, do I have to be a Dolce Gabbana fan to be able to buy some of the properties? Look, if we've had clients which want to do the full interior design with them and do all the furnishing, et cetera, et cetera.
Is that service? Yeah. So that's
of
what
course you can do that, and you can design with the team, and you could go to the full length of their design, but they have complete different types of design, more as I said, from more neutral to more eccentric, and that's up to the property owner to decide. Now, of course, you have touches of their DNA, which from the moment you arrive into the the entrance social club to all the way hallways, lobbies, etc. You always have a flavor of their DNA and quality, and striving for that fatto a mano, which is kind of like tailored for you, unique finishing. And I think you're going to get that flavor throughout the development, and that careful touch that a family business would look for, and then obviously that portrays fully into once you enter your own home. I think we're having a marriage of perfect location and a strive for maximum quality. Services. Sorry.
Sure. So right now we're sort of looking at the plot, right? From here, we're going to be sort of putting a drone overview of the plot later. Can you sort of give us a breakdown of timings? When are you expecting handover of the entire development?
Handover of entire development will be within 2.5 years. I would say 3 years maximum, and I'm giving those 6 months for margin for error. I mean, we're doing, as I said, a huge master plan here. of almost 90,000 to 100,000 square meters. As I said, retail drive, the communal areas. It's above ground, more than 30,000 square meters built, but below, as I said, we have a bunch of communal areas, gyms, wellness, and that, is a lot. It's a very big master plan.
Apart from the communal areas, there's one sort of huge selling point, and I think it's going to be something that's going to bring a lot of value to the Golden Mile itself, which is all the commercial area that's going to be coming, say, within the development or below the development. Can you tell us about the commercial area that's going to be, in my opinion, potentially the new high street of Marbella?
So when we were conceiving the project, we clearly saw that there was a demand for, for new F&B, for the possibility of high-end fashion, jewelry, to be able to, they were looking for locations, right? So we were conceiving not just the most special residential project, but also a new place to be, a new place to come and visit. So a new meeting point. And that's really the way we see Design Hills is, there's different layers. As I say, there's the retail drive, which, as I said, is going to have, more than 3 or 4 restaurants, the best jewelry or fashion stores or other high-end stores, which is going to make it, I would say, a place to come and visit, not only for residents living there, and being able to service the residential complex, but at the same time, people can come and enjoy, the special location that we're creating. Because I could say that retail drive you're saying also has sea views, although it's just below the project, but you're still going to be able to have sea views from there. So it is going to be special.
Tell us a bit about, obviously we've got a few years to go, but who's buying, what nationalities, the kind of profile of residents of Design Hills so far?
It's very similar to what's happening in the whole Costa del Sol, or maybe especially Marbella. We don't depend on just one specific market. It's very international. So if I had to stand out something, of course we have Scandinavia, Eastern Europe, which has grown a lot lately. Traditional European countries which are still buying. But if I had to stand out, I think something is clearly we're seeing the influx of Americans coming. Also other North American countries, Mexico, etc., or South America starting to appear. But we've had clients even from Canada, in multiple different countries. So that's I would say it's a strong point for Marbella and for Costa del Sol in general, and we're seeing that same effect in Dolce Gabbana in Design Hills.
So something that was quite interesting is we were mentioning that this is the first Dolce Gabbana residential sort of branded residence that Dolce Gabbana have sort of jumped into. Talk to us about the profiles. Are people buying to live? Are people buying as holiday homes? Are people buying as an investment? What's the mix?
I think Marbella is becoming a residential destination. I mean, it has become already, right? It's all year round living. And that's what makes it special. You could come and visit and enjoy a few weeks or a few months, or you can live here all year round. And that's what differentiates us from, all the other, I would say, destinations in the world. So similar to other branded developments or other developments in general, I think more than 50% or approximately 50% of the people are living all year round. Then the other people, they have second, third homes, and they come and go depending on the time of the year, right? So that's a little bit, of a mix. But I would say approximately, between 40 and 50% are living all year round. They want to establish their families here. The kids are going to the nearby schools. And obviously, as you know, we're very well located and surrounded by one side Aloha, the other side Swans. We're in an amazing location, whether it's for family, or for people visiting and enjoying, wanting to go maybe or spending a few months here, a few weeks. You have walking distance to Puente Romano, Marbella Club, all the entertainment. So you can live both lifestyles, right? So the profile is very wide, to be honest. And I think because of the services, and obviously, we're giving you have everything for the very family-oriented kids clubs. The services that you would want to be able to have that absence of worry when you're living, in the development. And then again, but you're so. And if you want to have a little bit more upbeat lifestyle, you have it across, 2 minutes away. So as I said, location is ideal to be able to live any lifestyle.
Carlos, give us a sort of breakdown of the buildings in Design Hills.
So the buildings, I'm meaning probably the master plan. So it's as I said, the 100,000 square meters is divided into, we have 5 buildings.
5 blocks.
5 blocks. Every block has a specific name of a different Italian city, which has a connection to the brand. And as I said, all of them enjoying panoramic sea views. Just underneath those, every block, you then have the communal areas, so 5 infinity pools enjoying panoramic sea views. And then below you would have the retail drive. Okay. Retail drive, as I said, with all the
And
luxury.
the retail drive, can anyone access that retail drive?
Yeah.
So basically, residents will check themselves out of the complex, and they'll have the residential.
Yes, exactly. So in a way, actually, part of that retail or F&B, etc., can service the residences, but at the same time, it's an area that people can come and enjoy. Anybody from Marbella can come and enjoy. Those any of that retail which is there, or those different
services.
different services that are there. And then I can't forget as well about the gardens. Amazing, I said 40,000 square meters of gardens, which at the end of the day we're integrating also with an art center. So the idea is to have different a cultural aspect as well in the project, and also in interior and exterior art exhibitions, which I think is going to give a nice it's going to be a great addition to the project, but also to Marbella. So anybody that comes and visits Design Hills can also enjoy that unique experience.
I grew up in Marbella, right? So as a young boy, I used to always be around this part of town. And this plot was always that massive plot that nothing ever happened with it, but it's in such a strategical place. And if you look at it from a bird's eye view now, once Design Hills is completed, it's like the last piece of the puzzle for the Golden Mile in a sense, right? Because like once this development slotted in, there's no plot of this size again in the Golden Mile, right? And in such a consolidated area. What do you think that's going to do to this part specifically?
So, you explained it very well. I mean, obviously that's one of the reasons why it makes it so special. It's one of the last, remaining plots, Golden Mile Marbella, in an elevated position. So that clearly that's where, where the initial value is, and that's what makes starts making the project so special. But as you said, this is for us. When we started developing in Golden Mile these branded residences, starting with Epic by Fendi Casa, the Karl Lagerfeld villas, and now completing basically what we saw as kind of like Marbella Design District with Design Hills by Dolce Gabbana. As you also have probably seen.
Did you call it Design District?
Marbella Design District.
Oh, okay.
Kind of like a combination
I thought you were going to call the new commercial area Design District. I was like, that's going to stick. That's a great name for it.
Well, to be honest, for us, kind of like the area, I mean, a little bit inspired from Miami. Because you have Miami Design District, you have there a mix of art, high-end luxury, fashion, etc. And it's an area which was completely renewed. In a way, we saw some similarities. And we thought that, okay, if we do a combination of different branded projects, especially here, they're fashion branded projects, we thought that it could be maybe somewhat called Marbella Design District, the combination of the different...
of course, because you've got Fendi behind us, interesting.
Lagerfeld, and then obviously the Design Hills with Dolce Gabbana. Well, it's an unofficial name, but it's a little bit, it could be official.
It's not, from now, it's an official name, Design District, I like it.
That's a little bit how we saw it. Now, also, you've seen, I think, completing Marbella Design District, or this area, you've seen the new Carretera di Stan road, right? Which I think is a great artery, to be able to communicate, us with directly to the beach, directly to Ponte Romano, whether it's with your bicycle, walking, etc. I mean, I think that infrastructure, which is right through the middle of our projects, is, obviously in real estate, infrastructure is everything. So I think that's a great addition to be able to create, and stamp this place as, probably the most high-end residential spot in Marbella at the moment.
in recent years, there's been a lot of interest for branded residences, but not all branded residences are made equally. There, you know, if I'm a buyer and I come to Costa del Sol, there are so many, you know, not so many, but there's a few differences between one branded residence and other. Can you run us through like the main differences of Design Hills and others?
Okay, so for me, the most important thing in a branded residence is a stamp of guarantee. And when you're looking, and that stamp of guarantee is for the buyer, and that buyer knows that the project is going to be in the best location or a super prime location. It's going to have the best quality, it's going to have a unique design, and it's going to have services both in amenities and a level of service that you know is 5-star, and it's the best. So that stamp of guarantee for me is what every branded residence should have. Now, I know for a fact that we are doing that here in Design Hills, and we've done that in our previous branded residences. Not only, you know, ticking those boxes, but I would say taking it a step much further than what people could imagine. So we're really giving the best in every one of those categories. Okay, so our perception in Sierra Blanca of a branded residence is ticking all those boxes, and I would say, when you asked me before, you know, why Dolce Gabbana and why Marbella, I think also Dolce Gabbana or some of these brands have found a developer which is willing to be able to invest and do something really special, work hand in hand, and be able for the brand to be able to express themselves. And, you know, we're willing to take, I would say, responsible risks to be able to really invest in doing a unique project. I would say not all branded residences right now that are in the market have this level that we are delivering right now. That's my opinion.
So the interesting thing from my perspective, at least, is that Design Hills is what we call a fashion branded residence, but you guys offer as much services as a hotel branded residence. Can you walk us through it?
Yeah, and I'll do that. And just to point out, I mean, it's not like I'm defending just fashion branded as well. We've delivered now. This is our third fashion branded residence, but we are going to be involved in hotel branded too. So we are a fan of both. But one thing we wanted to be very clear with these developments that we've done, and specifically Design Hills, if you go and compare, I mean, one thing I would say where people defend that hotel branded is theoretically ahead of fashion branded developments is in services. If you take, and we spoke about before, the services that Design Hills has or is giving, it's probably better or it has more services that you would find in any hotel branded project. Because if we go, for example, I mean, whether it was in sporting facilities, whether it was in wellness areas, whether it was in restaurants, whether it's in personalized service within your own home, you're going to have all of that in Design Hills. So we're going to have the same hotel experience in a residential complex, but it's branded by a fashion brand instead of a hotel brand. So that's something which we're very, very confident about, and we know that we're going to deliver those unique services for all our residents.
For that person that buys, you know, their dream property in Design Hills, right? They jump on the boat and they're part of the vision, right? Yeah. What does his life look like in Design Hills?
Well, that's the same question that Domenico asked me, and we worked on together, right? Domenico Dolce. And I have to maybe go back a little bit of story when the first time he came back, he came to Marbella. He stepped on the plot, and you know, we envisioned.
How many years ago was this?
This is maybe 3 years ago.
3 years ago,
okay.
You
know, and we started, and he envisioned, you know, the green, the whites, and the blue, and the green was because of the gardens, you know, which were underneath the white of the, you know, the flawless, elegant buildings, white buildings. And then, you know, the blue of the sky, and a little bit maybe that's kind of the color tone which he wanted to integrate into the project and throughout the project. So, you know, there's a vision from the artists and from us into Design Hills, and coming into a lifestyle which is that you asked me about. What is it like? Yeah, so I mean, lifestyle design Hills. I think you can lead any type of lifestyle you want, but it's for a client which is clearly very demanding, which knows what they want, can lead any type of lifestyle, but clearly wants something unique, almost like a collector's item, because there's only going to be a handful of these residences in Marbella, Costa del Sol, Europe, or maybe the world. So not only is the value there because of the amenities, the project, obviously the quality, the involvement, and from A to Z of some two of the biggest fashion icons of the world. So really, as I would say, it's almost buying a limited edition residence, something that nobody else can really have, or only a very select amount of people can have. So you're almost buying into a community of very like-minded people. I think at the beginning we sell, location, quality, design, services, but then, when a project matures, you're selling the community. You're part of a group of people which are very like-minded, and to be honest, then you want to be part of that community. You want to be
sort of an exclusive club in a way.
Yeah, in a way, it is an exclusive club, and that's happened with other projects in the past. We've had Epic Marbella by Fendi Casa started, and now not only is it a great project, but now it's about being a part of very select neighbors, which have established amazing relationships, and very well-to-do people from different backgrounds, but very, very extremely high-end. And that's what, at the end of the day, I think in Design Hills we're seeing that's going to happen again, or even in a more special way.
Carlos, before we sat down, you mentioned something which was quite interesting, is that you're actually going to be moving into Design Hills with your family. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Well, we always want to move into the best projects, so no, but no, it's true. We actually, historically have always lived in our developments. If we were not proud and we did not feel confident of what we were doing as developers, we could not live in something that we were building or developing. That's very clear. Now. So I mean, in a way, I'm also selling. I am your neighbor. If I wasn't delivering something was up to your standard, come and knock on my door and and complain about it. So I think we're doing a good job, and we feel that it's going to be something unique, and of course we're excited about. Right now we're living in one of our current developments, and part of that I would say relationships that we build with our clients, which then become very close friends, is that where we become almost their neighbors, right? Or their neighbors actually. So we really at the end of the day, it's about, in Sierra Blanca, we believe in about giving very close relationship before, during, and after the purchase. It's not about the purchase. It's about also, the relationship you establish after you purchase your home. So, yeah.
Carlos, we're going to be leaving a link to Design Hills in the description of this video. So if you guys want to check out, what the development's about and a bit more information, you can click the link in the description of this YouTube video. I'd like to finish with one question. And the question is, if you had to choose just one word to describe Design Hills, what word would you choose and why?
Probably tailor-made. Okay, maybe that's those two words, but in a way it's expressing a little bit, we are trying to, tailor-make unique residences for unique individuals.
Yep.
So really adapting to their needs and necessities, both inside the residences, throughout the whole project, with the amenities. We're trying to answer, that lifestyle that everybody's looking for here. So really, I think we're really tailor-making unique homes for everybody.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
All right.
Carlos, thank you so much for joining us on one of our Expert Talks playlist videos for our channel. That's a perfect wrap for this video. Thanks for joining us, Carlos.
No, thank you.
And,
Thanks for the interest in coming.
It's a pleasure. And I'll just finish with sending a message to you guys, the audience watching this video right now. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please press that like button so we know that the right content is coming your way. Like always, if you have any questions for Carlos, for his team, or for us, comment those below so we can get back to you. And if it's the first time you come across our High Homes content on YouTube and you want to stay posted with the very best regarding Spanish real estate, lifestyle on Costa del Sol, and much, much more, press that button and subscribe to the High Homes YouTube channel. Carlos, let's say bye to them.
Hasta luego.